Yeah, I've said this before and I'll say it again, but like being correct politically doesn't really mean that much with regards to your capacity to continue making correct decisions, you know? Like a good example of this that's currently hot in terms of Twitter discourse is a lot of leftists will pretend they're pro rehabilitative justice and then all of them will argue it should be okay to like murder rapists or something, you know? Where you have a person arrive sort of like incidentally or coincidentally at a correct position, but then you realize their underlying moral logic it doesn't add up. They just ended up having a correct position, but in like future, you know, in future arguments they might arrive at a completely wrong one because their process for arriving at a good answer is dumb, you know. Tankies? No, no, no. Trust me. The lefties who don't actually believe in rehabilitation, that's like most lefties. Are they even lefties at that point? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sure, right? You, I don't really gatekeep leftism behind you have to be right on every issue. I guess you can be generally progressive and then be bad on that specifically, but it's like a pretty big indicator, right? Had to debate people who have the right answer, but the math is fucked. It's wild. Zero principles. They just want some authority or institution to tell them what to think. Yeah, this is the reason why being an anarchist, or at the very least being inspired by anarchist philosophy, is the only correct way to do politics. Because if you look deep down at every other ideology, people want to be told what to do because they're weak. Marxists, Leninists, tankies, Stalinists, whatever, that entire group of people, they're not really fundamentally different from other kinds of authoritarians. They just envision a kind of authoritarianism that gets them the outcomes they want. Liberals are procedurally anti-authoritarian, but deeply technocratic and institutionalist, meaning that liberals will ideologically oppose authoritarianism for the most part, but then they'll support, first of all, capitalism, which is autocratic, and second of all, the sort of rule of institution and law in a way that actually procedurally hems people in the way that an authoritarian system might, you know? It's only anarchist philosophy, frankly, that's gotten this correct. There are some early Enlightenment thinkers that have as well, or I shouldn't say early Enlightenment thinkers. I guess I should say there are trends from the Enlightenment that I think have been sort of consistent in this regard, but a lot of them ended up just getting folded into like socialist and libertarian movements moving forward, right? The most interesting parts of the Enlightenment ended up becoming the libertarian socialist movement. Vaush Schoenhead going back to simping with the alt-right again just makes me think that people who rehabilitate are one step from going back if you don't keep fact-checking them. You're wrong on a couple of levels. First of all, Schoenhead never really, like, changed. She's just the way now that she was a few years ago. Extremely populist, anti-institutionalist, conspiratorial, very much aligned with people who won't tell her what she can or can't say. She didn't change that much. In a lot of ways, Schoenhead has been more consistent than a lot of the people who got angry at her over inconsistency, like, I don't know, Destiny or something. Schoenhead's been really consistent. Now, I think that her consistency, in this case at least, is being retarded. This is a consistently retarded outlook on her part. The insane hyperfixation on populist rhetoric to the point where it leads to her, like, openly getting along with authoritarians. I don't get that at all. I don't think she would, like, get along with Bill Gates or George Soros or like obvious billionaire autocrats. I don't know why her ideology permits her to get along with so-called populist authoritarians, but in that respect, she's been consistent. But that's not a matter of rehabilitation. That was just the underlying logic was already flawed. Also, a big issue here, frankly, is that, and you know what? I'll give Schoenhead some credit to this point. A big issue here is that the left is insufferable with the purity testing, No matter how much Schoenhead criticized authoritarians or religious autocrats or whatever else, people on the far right were always incredibly conniving when dealing with her. Like, some people on the right would bitch at her, but for the most part, a lot of people were like, oh, just you wait, like, a lot of people on the right with regards to Schoenhead, they were like, okay, if we openly criticize her, we make ourselves look bad. Look at what Sargon of Akkad did. Look at what a bunch of, like, Gamergate types did when Schoenhead started associating with left-leaning people. They all freaked out. They looked like crazy simps. We're not going to do that. They were smart. The people on the left take pride in being retarded. They're like, well, if you're not perfect all the time, then I will subject you to nonstop, endless critical discourse where at the very even if you have to constantly answer for this or for that. God, it's no wonder that people shift away from the left. Jesus Christ. The only reason I haven't is because I'm better than you people. But really though, the fact that I've remained consistent in the face of how the left acts is a sign of me being, I would say, divine. On this holiest of days, on Christmas Day, I will say that it is a bit of divine inspiration. You're insufferable. You're all insufferable. You guys too, less so. But but you guys too. Yeah, he's the chosen one, son of Christ, reincarnation, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever. Seriously, though, it's a big issue. And I've been harping on about this for like 5 years now. So very important, very important. The main problem is that it's like schoolyard politics, right? Where even people who have seen how bad the bullying and gatekeeping gets, the moment they're in the in crowd, they do it to other people. Perfect example, ContraPoints. ContraPoints, a lot more sensitive a person than me, got driven back to a opioid addiction because of online bullying. She gets back in good graces by staying quiet, putting her head in the sand, and then what? She turns that right against me. Every single tactic used against her, the exact same shit. Rebound right against me. Like a lot, it's like bullying. How do you avoid getting bullied? You point the finger elsewhere. So it's like, man, that last video, yeah, 1 year ago, is this like generational trauma? Nah, don't give it that legitimacy. Weak people are weak. I think Contra's critiques of you were far less valid than the critiques of Shu. There are no critiques of me. Contra's video was weird, man. Contra makes really good videos. And it really did just feel like she took 5 minutes out of that video to, like, hate monger about me. Like, normally her videos are very tightly written, but it felt like she had, like, 40 minutes of a good video, and then 40 minutes of a good video, and then sandwiched in the middle, it was a 5-minute ramble about me that wasn't really related to the thesis of the video. Like, much better arguments could have been made elsewhere. She just wanted to include me. Yeah, it's weird. It didn't even make any sense. Yeah, Taser Pagan. Vaush, I doubt there's a human in the world that would do the right thing when their social circle is compromised. We have to expect some degree of integrity from people who make a lot of money from convincing other people of their political positions, I think that's fair. I've been consistent. I don't think it's impossible. She used the drama with you to say we should just ignore JKR. It was weird. Ignore JK. Like, that was her takeaway. That big old video was like, what if we just ignored the figureheads of hate movements? Like, what if we just didn't... Weird. Weird. By the way, you might have noticed, not to brag, but I will brag, that everything that I said about JKR ended up coming true. She's the leader of a hate movement, but like I said, the TERFs on their own are not that powerful because their interests are only amplified to the extent that they overlap with the interests of the conservative majority. TERFs themselves, like actual TERFs, not super relevant groups. I'll ask you, when was the last time you saw a headline about J.K. Rowling? Exactly. That's because their talking points have been folded into the right. Now it's just the conservative movement again. And what is the conservative movement okay with? That's right, misogyny. So at the end of the day, the hemming and hawing and pearl clutching about, oh, you can't prove TERFs right by being misogynistic, like all that bullshit, totally invalid. The life cycle of her wing of the movement was never going to last that long, How can you simultaneously appeal to a conservative majority but also hem and haw over misogyny? You can't, is the thing. It's an inconsistency. Conservatives are definitionally okay with misogyny. So it's don't play into their fear-mongering bullshit, Don't give in to the idea that you're actually fronting their positions or empowering them by doing that. It's not true. Vaush, bigotry doesn't justify goddamn bigotry. Cry about it. Again, the idea that years of drama has been produced by me saying something like, women shut up and be quiet. Holy shit. I say shit like that all the time on stream. Nobody cares. The only reason leftists care about me saying that is because J.K. Rowling told them to. The cucked, spineless little bitches. See, this is what I mean by being an unwitting pawn of the right. If your outrage and indignation are coded in such a way that you're basically the attack dog of the opposition gets to point out what they think is harmful to them, and you go, oh, they're right, we can't do that. You're just doing their bidding for them. Sure, overstate the problem. Why not, Hey, somewhere out there probably is a trans woman who's kind of creepy about cis women, and does the ooh, girl to nah, lesbian, let's all talk thing. I know that because ContraPoints made a video where they pointed out that transbians sometimes have a tendency to behave this way. Let's all, as the entire left, dedicate our resources and attention to attacking trans women if they act anything like that. I think that's a good idea. I think this is guaranteed to produce good outcomes for the trans community, and definitely isn't us just doing the bidding of a right-wing psyop that's interested in cultivating infighting. I'm very smart. Very smart. I've got a very high IQ. I've got lots of good ideas. How do we fix the left? Donate more. Benjamin, you specifically, you've been slacking. That's a joke. You don't need to. I love you. Also, Merry Christmas. Happy birthday.